Let's talk about this plan of yours. I think it's good, except it sucks. So let me do the plan, and that way it might be really good.
Wow.
10 years, 18 movies, and nearly 24 superheroes come together to produce the Avengers Infinity War, a thrill-a-minute epic that satisfies on so many levels. The Avengers Infinity War is the culmination of a decade's worth of careful crafting, universe building, and intricately woven storylines that all converge in one gigantic crossover. Directed by the Russo brothers, who hit their Marvel stride with past ambitious crossovers such as Captain America movies The Winter Soldier and Civil War, Infinity War raises the bar in terms of expectations for superhero collaborations. It is the pinnacle to which all shared universes strive to become. Clocking in at approximately 2 hours and 40 minutes, Infinity War starts off with a bang and never lets up from its torrid pace for the entire duration of the film. Blink and you'll miss out. The movie wastes no time in setting its dark, intense tone right from the onset. After all, we've had 10 years to gear up for this, right? As is usually the case, Marvel finds a way to strike the perfect balance of comedy and action without sacrificing the severity or integrity of its central plot. The Mad Titan Thanos, who has appeared in a handful of prior MCU films but never got to truly find the spotlight in limited screen time, more than makes up for his lack of build-up prior to Infinity War. The story centers on Thanos and his pursuit of the 6 Infinity Stones, a collection of singularities that give its wielder unprecedented power and abilities. This doomsday scenario calls to mind the feeling I got when I saw The Empire Strikes Back for the first time, thanks to its darker tone in relation to its predecessors in The Avengers and Age of Ultron. As much as I had already loved Thor Ragnarok, I am infinitely more grateful for its existence, with hindsight showing me that it was the true comic relief that I needed before watching what would be a heavy, emotional roller coaster of a ride. There's no shortage of epic moments, several of which stem from the introduction of our heroes one by one. What's perhaps most impressive about Infinity War is the way it finds true balance. Every hero gets more than a brief cameo, as the audience gets to spend an adequate amount of time with each of them. They all get their moment in the spotlight. Going into the movie, a chief concern of mine was the notion that Marvel was going to try and cram too much into the screenplay that, despite being over 2.5 hours, had a lot of ground to cover. Infinity War succeeds on every account, even introducing new relevant characters that would be integral to the plot. Just about anyone who's anyone appears in Infinity War. The Avengers, the Guardians of the Galaxy, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, and Black Panther are all present. Taking things a step further, Infinity War feels like the conclusion to every subplot, every unanswered question, and every inside joke from the last 10 years. Keep in mind, this is really just part one of the story. What's even more amazing is that, in an odd way, Infinity War feels like a satisfying conclusion to the MCU's massive story arc that started with 2008's Iron Man, though perhaps not a joyous one. Each character's strengths, abilities, and personalities are interwoven so meticulously and so wonderfully, I wouldn't be surprised to receive new Marvel movies for another decade. The story and subsequent cliffhanger ending of Infinity War will have fans contemplating and theorizing for the next 12 months as we wait for the as-yet untitled Avengers 4. The movie is heavy and will simply put, stick with you well after you leave the theater. Did I mention how fast the pace is? From the moment Infinity War begins, it just goes and goes and goes. If there's a gripe to be had with Infinity War, it's that there is a question as to whether or not the events of the movie will have consequences as we move into the future of the MCU, namely 2019's Avengers movie. I couldn't imagine having the weight of putting together Infinity War's screenplay, and the same could be said for next year's Avengers. That being said, a large part of what made Infinity War so intense and so dreary could be undone with the next move Marvel makes. It's hard to rate a movie based on an incomplete score, but it kind of feels like that here. Regardless of what does come next, Infinity War is a sterling standalone entry that is not only a superb action movie in its own right, but ties together everything that came before it with a neat bow. Arguably the biggest blockbuster of the entire year and one of the industry's most anticipated movies does not disappoint. It brings together the characters we have come to know and love and finds a way to incite every emotion from sullen to shock to joy. With the next chapter in the Avengers saga just over a year away, it will undoubtedly be a long 12 months. For everything the Avengers Infinity War, keep it locked to thegeekiverse.com and check out our 18-part series called Some Assembly Required. And just remember, don't spoil Infinity War for anyone. Hashtag Thanos demands your silence.
I'm Peter, by the way.
Doctor Strange.
Oh, you're using your made-up names. Then I am Spider-Man.